The One Academy is the heart of our company. Cryptocurrency is not an easy product. It's a very innovative product based on technology and based on very, very complex concepts. For us to be part of this financial revolution, to be part of cryptocurrency and of a community, we need to understand exactly what we do and what we talk about. And this is why we have the One Academy. The One Academy provides you with concepts, provides you with explanation on cryptocurrency and on the financial world. I would encourage everybody to join the courses, to do the certificates, and to understand thoroughly how to use cryptocurrency, what cryptocurrency is, and how we can change the world by using cryptocurrency. One Academy. Learn today, lead tomorrow.
A blessed good morning and good day to everyone from the Caribbean and those of you from around the rest of the world. Thank you for being on the call. My name is Maureen Brown and I'm from Barbados. I am your host today. As our founder, Dr. Ruja, just said, the reason we are here is because we're learning today so we can lead tomorrow. What is One Academy? One Academy is an innovative e-learning platform covering a broad range of financial topics, including trading, the stock exchange, cryptocurrency, financial analysis, asset management, and more. Our mission is to provide our students with the guidance and educational materials they need to achieve financial literacy. One Academy was developed by finance experts and academics. It is highly structured and easy to understand. You learn at your own pace and can be part of the future of global finance. We will be continuing with level 1 today, and our intention is to give you a unique sense of understanding of straightforward facts that you can use immediately to enhance your daily lives as well as promote our core product, One Academy. Remember, it's an interactive session, so please put your questions and comments in the chat box. Also, we will allow 1 or 2 contributions at the end of the discussion unless otherwise stated. I encourage you to take copious notes to assist you in your quest to become certified, knowledgeable, and wise investors. Mr. Pereira, are you ready for us? We are ready for you.
Yes, good morning, Ms. Maureen Brown. Good morning to you. How are you doing this morning?
I'm well. And you?
All right. Well, I'm pretty much just as much well as you are. Thank you so much for asking. Good morning to all our One Academites this morning. Today is a public holiday in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not sure in other parts of the Caribbean if there is a holiday. If there is a holiday, just text me in the box and let me know if it's a holiday for you. We have actually back-to-back holidays today and tomorrow. Today is Corpus Christi. It's a Christian holiday, predominantly more Roman Catholic. And then we have Indian Arrival Day in Trinidad and Tobago. So nonetheless, the duties of One Academy is very important. We don't take vacations. The importance of education for all of us is very important and is really a full-time deal. And we totally enjoy it. So this morning, we're going to continue on our discussion. We're going to be talking about the importance of gold, where we are in the One Academy manual. For those who are actually looking on the One Academy manual, it's actually on page 52. It could slightly be different depending on the type of manual you would have had when you downloaded it, but it's roughly on page 52. And on this page, we started discussing the importance of gold. But of course, what we will be looking at this morning is the performance of gold. Why should we be paying attention to gold in the long run? And gold is not just another investment opportunity. Gold really supplants the importance of really what money is. Money, by definition, is gold. It's the ultimate source of true wealth because it does not lose value in time. And even though it's been significantly manipulated by governments, so the value of gold in terms of what you're hearing today is really not the real intrinsic value. So many statistics and figures may possibly point in the direction that gold has lost the value, but gold has never lost the value, really, for the last 6,000 years of recorded history. So we have become very sophisticated in the game of numbers. And on One Academy, it is my intention, through the use of this information, to help you think along a line where you can rationalize this information so you understand what it's all about. I will refer to my PowerPoint, which is very much easier to understand, and we're going to link this information as it relates to what is available in the One Academy. Moving forward, what we really need to understand, if we are to really have a clearer understanding of where this whole asset called gold is and how it responds, we have to take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Right, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average is, of course, the stock exchange in the US, one of the largest. And in fact, it has a number of companies that represent the Dow Jones. And when we look at the performance, and I'll actually try to, let me just give you a bigger view of this slide so you can actually see it a little better. And what this slide really says is that gold has outperformed the stock market over the last 15 years. So when you really look at the Dow Jones, and of course this may appear to be a little bit of gibberish and confusing, but don't let the sight of all these ups and downs confuse you. This is just to let you know, One Academites, that through structured information, that gold has outperformed the Dow Jones. And why is it so important for you to know that gold has outperformed the Dow Jones? It is to supplant in your mind the importance of where this asset class is, the significance that is attached to this asset class. Now, if you really look on the screen from 2003 to 2018, the last 15 years, you would see all the major currencies of the world, from USD, Canadian, Swiss franc, Euro, Great Britain pound, and so on, Japanese yen. And if you look on all of this, it might appear to be a lot of information. But what, in fact, this says is for the last 15 years as well, gold has outperformed all major currencies of the world. All fiat currencies have been outperformed by this class called gold. And we're not talking about paper ETFs. We are not talking about anything that's man-made. We are talking about the physical asset, highest grade gold, 24 karat, 999.9 London bullion markets, LBMA, quality gold, the type of gold that the IMF uses. All country stores, most of our countries store in their central banks. So gold has outperformed all the major fiat currencies of the world in the last 15 years. So this supplants another reason why you want to be paying attention to this asset class called gold. Because gold is and should be part of your portfolio. Earlier on in this discussion, in the beginning of lesson 1, it was categorically stated in the manual that we need to have diversified portfolio of assets. And one of them is gold. In fact, if you can recall the 4 asset classes, can any of you tell me what are the 4 asset classes according to the One Academy manual that says that you should have? Very quickly, can you just type in the box for me some of the things that you must have in your portfolio to be protected? So I'll be moving forward and I'm talking a little bit. Maybe you can share with me some of the, the asset classes that really you should be having in your diversified portfolio. All right. I'm actually going to ask Kesby. Kesby, I'm going to put you on the spot and you share with me in 1 minute, what are the 4 asset classes that you need? Yes, I'm going to put you on the spot this morning. Kes, can you unmute your mic?
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, sir. Tell me something. What are the 4 asset classes generally that we should have in our portfolio moving forward?
We should have metals, commodities. I'm trying to remember. I know land is one of them, but I don't think it was put that way.
Absolutely. Land is also very important in terms of the acquisition of assets.
The 4th one seems to be escaping me right now.
Right. Well, okay. We have land, gold, silver. Of course, you mentioned commodities, also, of course, and cryptocurrency is what is, yes, is what is actually needed. Thank you so much for your contribution, sir.
Yes, sir.
So those four classes are very important. You must have land, gold and silver, because gold and silver represent the metals commodity, as Kesby would have just indicated, and the cryptocurrency generally. Now, of course, your basket could be broader than that. Doesn't mean because they mention four that you need to have only four. Of course, some people will also have other types of liquidity type investments like insurance policies, endowments, and maybe annuities and so on. All of those things actually add value in terms of protection, because what you really want to have is protection against the event something happens. And it's no longer in the event something happens, it's when something will happen. So we need to make that distinction clearly, that it's only a matter of time when we are going to be faced with economic risk. And economic risk not only on a global perspective, but economic risk even in our own countries, because we can never be too sure when our central bank, through the heavy influence of political power, really can influence certain types of behavior. I'll give you a perfect example of that in Trinidad and Tobago. Our bright and astute government has decided to implement property tax. Of course, this has been a waging debate over the last 5 years as to whether to implement property taxes. Of course, we're not disputing the fact that government should, in fact, implement property taxes. But when you hear the discussion on the morning talk shows, it behoves me really as to where they're really going with this, because they're actually thinking about, if you have a chicken coop in your yard, you have a very large tool shed, you could probably very much pay more taxes. Now, the last time I checked, the most infamous prime minister of the 20th century, Winston Churchill, had said it categorically clear, and I'm not sure if these politicians actually read historical evidence, but Winston Churchill said it this way, that you cannot tax a nation into prosperity. So maybe they unfortunately need to be advised, and they probably need to be on these One Academy calls, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it really gives you an idea of how economic risk can actually manipulate and change the status quo. And hence the reason why we need to learn this, and learn this to such an extent where we no longer become victims of economic policy or even monetary policy. And I think it's high time that we really do learn this. And the fact that you on these calls this morning really supplants the importance of learning this information. Now, when you really look at gold and its other classes, we are going to take some of this information from the World Gold Council. This is the ultimate standard of gold authority in the world. So I'm not taking this information based on maybe British or American or maybe Japanese. I'm going straight to the source, where I actually read a lot of periodical journals from the World Gold Council. So you could go onto worldgoldcouncil.org and actually look at that information for yourself and be a serious student and really see what's really taking place. So the World Gold Council is respected and trusted by policymakers and central bankers around the world, especially in the key markets of China and India. So we are going to be discussing some of the key points. And one of the key points in particular is that the strong gold price performance was a positive for investors and the producers, and was symptomatic of a more profound shift in sentiments, a growing recognition of gold's role as a wealth preservation and risk mitigation tool. And this was part of the report of 2017 by the World Gold Council's report. I thought I would just add that tidbit here to let you know that it was the sentiment for gold in 2017 was strong. And one of the reasons for that is because of the growing use of cryptocurrency. Why are people looking at cryptocurrency as well? Simply because they are losing faith in the fiat system. More and more people are beginning to take the red pill and are beginning to understand the importance of saving in gold. So if you really look at this statistic taken from the World Gold Council 2017 report, you'd realize that there's roughly 4,066.4 tons, or $164 billion, yes, billion with a B, that's the annual gold demand, is currently at 164 billion US dollars. Central banks have added gold to their reserves for an 8th consecutive year. In 2017, the gold demand came from two particular countries, from China and India, which accounted to 41% of the initial gold demand in 2017. So that really hammers the importance of countries. China obviously is buying up a lot of gold because there is talk in the financial circle that China is definitely looking to back its currency, the renminbi one, by gold, by physical gold. And that's definitely going to put the US, which we call the greenback, under tremendous pressure. As you know, the United States currency really is the ultimate world standard of currency that's traded in the world. In fact, 90%, 70% of all 100 US dollar bills are actually out of the US and not in the United States. So that's also a very important point to consider. Let's look at some of the comments and see some of the comments that some of us might be making this morning. Commodities, equities, precious metals, alternative investments, cryptocurrencies. Yes, Maureen just actually mentioned what we just spoke about a few moments ago. So moving forward, what is important to understand is central banks and other institutions have also decided to purchase a huge amount of gold. So you think that gold is really not a good idea to purchase? Why is central banks of the world buying gold? In fact, the central bank demand for gold was up by 42%. In 2017, it was 82.2, and in the first quarter of 2018, 116.5 tons was actually purchased by central banks all over the world, and that's a 42% rise. And one of the reasons why central banks are in fact purchasing a greater amount of gold is to supplant the volatility of fiat currency in their particular country at this point in time. We all know that there is tremendous pressure of the United States dollar, and of course, geopolitical factors from Russia, India, China, just to say the least, the BRIC nations are in fact putting tremendous pressure on the United States dollar. And why is this so important? Because every single one of us on this call, wherever we are in the Caribbean and beyond, means that our local currency is also pegged to the US dollar. So we're like a Titanic ship, meaning that if it falls, our economy by extension will suffer, which we call systemic risk. And those are sometimes factors that are beyond one's control. So the central bank net purchases total 116.5 tons in the first quarter of 2018, which is a 42% higher than the previous year of 2017. Russia, Turkey, and Kazakhstan together bought 91 tons in the first quarter alone. And sales were again negligible. Qatar, which is an ally of the US, was the biggest seller, cutting its reserve by 3.1. I don't know why they would want to sell 3.1 tons of gold, Qatar, but it is what it is. So these are indications to help us understand the severity of really what is taking place at this point in time. Seems my PowerPoint is actually trying to have a mind of its own. So we did talk about the gold trends in 2018, and by extension, what central banks are in fact doing. Central banks are in fact buying up more gold, and I want us to really take note of that, because central banks are responsible for what? The monetary supply in any particular country. So if they are in fact controlling the money supply, they're also ensuring that they do have a healthy supply of gold reserves. And I think that's very, very important for us to know. And if we would have looked at these graphs here on your One Academy manuals, you'd realize the fluctuation as it relates to gold over the years. What you would see here is the performance of the United States dollar on the left from since 2001 to 2010. And that's just a snapshot in time. And you'd realize that there is a direct relationship between the value of gold going up and the decreasing purchasing power of the United States dollar. And of course, here on the right is just a graph to help you understand how the Dow Jones has been responding as it relates to gold. So it's right there in your manual as it talks about it. So as you can clearly see from the graphs above, that gold has outperformed. I'm actually even showed you some of my own personal slides to reinforce that point, that gold has really outperformed all the major stock markets globally, and of course, all the major currencies over the last 15 years. So when measured in a more stable asset, such as gold, the index actually falls for the observed period. So we really need to understand that when you're doing a measurement, you really need to do a measurement in a commodity. So gold is actually one of the best ways to measure. You can actually measure in oil, but oil does fluctuate. Gold does not have a historical significance of extreme fluctuations as gold or any of the other commodities. That's why gold is really the standard in terms of measurement. So if you want to use a measurement or a base or a benchmark in particular, you really need to use gold as a class in order to make a comparison. The reason why you cannot use fiat currency to really do a valid comparison is that you will have to factor in inflation when you're actually doing a comparison. So it's very important to understand the importance of using money, real money, to compare purchasing power. And of course, I've done it many times when I've actually showed you using gold to supplant the value of purchasing bread, which is something that you buy on a regular basis. And when you look back at the last 45 years, you realize that if you were actually buying gold, you would be able to buy more things as opposed to paper. I think that is really a perfect example as to why real money doesn't lose value. And there is a comparison now with cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency is behaving as gold, because cryptocurrency cannot be printed like a printing press like fiat money by governments. So governments are in fact very much threatened. Not all governments, but some governments are still very much tied to the fiat-based system, and it's very difficult for them to really come out of it. Because as far as those politicians are concerned, they really do not see cryptocurrency for now as a viable alternative. But of course, we have the information that we can say that they're categorically wrong. Of course, some governments will get it while others will not. So let's look a little bit of the role of commodities. And when we regard such things as the indexes and the fiat money as unstable, an investor might start to wonder, and is there any sort of security in the market at all? The short answer is yes, there is security in the market. And had it been otherwise, probably no such institution as an exchange would exist. But in order to see how we can benefit, the investor should go several steps further beyond what is commonly referred to as common knowledge in fields of economics and finance. So yes, there is a basic rule of thumb in the world of finance and economics. However, you need to go beyond that, beyond this common knowledge. And that is why most economists and those that are in the field of finance find it very, very difficult to understand the role of cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency does not behave within the normal realm of standard economics and financial analytical analysis. So it's a whole different ball game. And we should go through these steps together in order to give you a better understanding. So just go through this. And of course, it's already approaching 23 minutes past the hour. Time always flies when you're having fun. So let's consider some of these questions that I want you to really look at. Is any asset absolutely stable? You need to ask yourself that question. Is any asset absolutely stable? The long and short to that answer is no. Such things as absolutes do not exist in the field of investing. However, some assets are more inherently stable than others. So that's the number one question you need to ask yourself. Number two, how can I differentiate the valuable assets from bubbles? So in many times it is hard to tell the difference, but as a rule of thumb, you can remember that bubbles tend to be unstable, short-lived, and are created by exogenous factors, meaning factors beyond your control. And For those who have been part of the series when we went up to level 3 and beyond, we'd realized that those exogenous factors are fear, greed, and hope. It is basically the ultimate sentiments of the market is controlled by human behavior. And the ultimate or the extreme behavior of buying and the extreme behavior of selling can in fact trigger a bubble. So human emotions play a direct role in creating a bubble. All right? And that's very important to note. So such factors can be political discretion of the ruling party or the central bank, as I have mentioned before. From here, it follows the hard rule. Value is created by the demand for a good by the consumer or the industrial world. And while a bubble is created by non-market drivers, we already mentioned gold. It is stable because the precious metal gold is used for a great variety of industrial applications. And on the other hand, government bonds are kept afloat by the printing presses of central banks because the genuine demand for them is little in comparison to other assets. That's very important when we are differentiating the value of assets from bubbles. So what it proves conclusively, one academites, is it is inherently important to own physical assets, such as gold, such as silver, to start with in terms of your portfolio investments so that you can protect yourself, because we already established the fact that fiat doesn't really offer a long-term haven for wealth protection. However, at the same time, it does not dispute the fact that you should not save in fiat. You should still have a savings account so that you can deal with immediate needs and, of course, your liquidity needs. In many cases, you still can't pay for your insurance and many of those things or grocery supplies just yet in cryptocurrency. But in the not too distant future, that obviously is going to change. And since we have determined a relatively stable asset that we have determined, such as gold, we can use it as a stable benchmark in order to compare other assets, as I've said. So you really want to use real money when you're making a comparison as it relates to purchasing power, as it relates to the depreciating value of other things that you want to measure. And notice here, we are not suggesting to compare them to a dollar, meaning the US dollar, since, as it has become very evident, the dollar and each other currencies for that matter have a great volatility of their own. And when we talk about volatility, we are talking about risk, especially for an investor who is on the market in search of shelter against inflation in the long run. And what you're really doing as an investor is not only to have a return, but also to hedge, meaning to protect yourself against risk or economic risk or geopolitical risk or anything that governs risk on the whole. So how can we measure something in terms of gold? You can do it by dividing the price of an asset, in this case of gold, with the original price of what you're comparing. So see how much it costed in the beginning of a given period and how much as it's in the end. And why choosing commodities or whatever sort of asset that is not fiat money? Because using fiat money, one has to calculate inflation, but the consumer price index, the mechanisms to which we can find out how much inflation actually is terribly wrong. Because we already know, and I think you would know by now, that many of the figures that are given by central banks, by political forces, are in fact inaccurate. When you consider that even your own country's inflation, it is very much manipulated. So you really can't totally rely on fiat money, since the inherent value is hidden within that calculation. You really don't know. So the mechanism through which we find out how much inflation actually is terribly wrong. And it shows how much the price of a basket of goods consisting of thousands of items has moved up and down. However, on the other hand, it hides the true price movement of the individual goods, since they are represented as bulk. And secondly, it does not show the dynamics of the monetary supply. And what is more, when simply looking at inflation of a given period and measure the value of an asset in terms of, let's say, fiat currency, it could be the case that in a normal sense of things throughout the period, that maybe the prices would have gone up, but we can't really determine that sometimes. And the reason for this is that inflation itself, But in reality, it could be very possible that the price has actually gone down, but we simply cannot see it. The advice to be drawn from this very simple: one has to go for sustainable value, which can be found in assets that are desired by the market players by definition. And on the other hand, commonly used economic indicators can often prove to be misleading when it goes to making investment-related decisions, because below the surface, they hide parts of the real information. And for this reason, one academites, an investor has to be ready to measure asset alternatively against other goods on the market who differs in terms of its sustainability. The prudent or wise investor follows carefully where inflation goes. So in order to see how to protect yourself from volatility and risk and move in the direction of what we call newly printed money by central banks, shows where bubbles can eventually form. So as an investor, it is your role to qualify information so that you can have a general idea as to where the trends are. And we're not talking about trends only in the stock market or the forex market. We are talking about trends as it relates to the economies of the world. Of course, we're just dots on the world map here in the Caribbean. But at the end of the day, we need to look at the macro economy out there. The economies like Russia, India, China, the US, European Union, how these countries are in fact performing on a global level. And having general knowledge will not help you alone in terms of what you're hearing from economic forecasts. You need to learn to read the information or go beyond the information that you're hearing, because everything that you hear is not exactly what it is at face value. And that's really the purpose of having a clearer understanding moving forward. So this really helps us to understand really the importance of gold, and also really generally we would be ending off this first part of the level one, and just maybe go through a few things here just to let you know that going for gold also has paper derivatives. They talk a lot about the historical significance of gold and silver. Of course, you can actually read that yourself to really supplant the information that we would have already covered moving forward. But in the final analysis, one of the things you really want to take from this morning's lesson in One Academy is that gold and silver, but in this case, gold that we spoke about, has some justification as a portfolio in terms of risk, in terms of protecting yourself against what is taking place. I'm not saying to just go out there and just buy gold. You need to find out exactly how to do that and structure yourself accordingly. All right. So at the end of the day, it is about having the information now so that you can put things in place in terms of your investment strategy moving forward to protect yourself against the uncertainties. Of course, if you had gold saved, we are talking about the highest grade LBMA type gold, and you're in Venezuela, you would be much more comforted by the fact that Venezuela basically, unfortunately, has found itself in a scenario. All right, so we need to be mindful of putting things in place for that. So Rajesh also says that imagine central banks are purchasing gold for the volatility. Absolutely, Rajesh. And the mere fact that they are purchasing means that we cannot ignore the advice. If central banks, which do control the monetary supply, are in fact actually purchasing gold, you've seen it in the first quarter of this year, that China and India in their central banks have increased purchasing by 42%. I think it's time for us to change our behavior as it relates to how gold is behaving. And I think that is very important to note. I just want to share with you one important thing, though. I was actually on the CIA website. And the CIA website, actually, we had some very interesting things when you really look at what is the available amount of US dollars that are actually in the marketplace. And it's very interesting. I discovered that yesterday, actually going on the CIA website. You could actually go on it yourself and get these figures. Now, these figures are what you call M1 and M2. That's when you factor in your country's available um, availability of fiat currency plus other assets that are factored together. So it's not only cash, but it's really a combination. And you'd realize that Venezuela, strange enough, has over $159 billion of assets and cash, US dollars, still in Venezuela. So that you don't really hear that. You hear that the currency has gone hyperinflation, meaning their local currency has gone hyperinflation. So Suriname has just over 2.3 billion, Jamaica 8.8 billion of fiat currency in their system. And of course, Barbados has just over $4.5 billion in US that's actually circulating in their banking system. So it really, when you really look at the fact sheet as it relates to the CIA, there's roughly about $80 billion of US dollars that are circulating outside of the United States. And that's why the US will continue to have a very strong dominance in the marketplace, because it is the number one widely accepted currency for now in the system. And we must understand that in the world of cryptocurrency, we are in fact taking away that power and control. So do you think that it's going to go down peacefully? Do you think that they're going to just sit back on their favorite chair and says, bring it on? Absolutely not. That's why you have to arm yourself with information so that you can protect yourself against what is to come. In this disruption that is taking place, it is going to be a very interesting fight over the next couple of years. And for us who have really stood the test of time being on the One Academy calls, you would really be happy that you did sacrifice, so that now you do not have to worry and play this game of fear, hope, and greed in terms of the market and panic when majority of people may possibly be panicking, including your family members. So you now can be stable in your thinking. So One Academites, thank you so much this morning. As we end off, we'll possibly do a recap tomorrow so that we can go back through some of the essence of what we would have discussed in our One Academy over the last couple of weeks, meaning One Academy Level 1. So have yourself a super day. Looking forward to connect with you tomorrow. All right, so where we convene and to do a major recap, possibly Thursday into Friday, so that you really get back maybe some of the things you may have forgotten, so that you can understand the concept. The idea of these discussions is for you to get the concept behind what the manual is saying, so that you now can build on this foundation and really add value to yourself and your family moving forward. Have yourself a fabulous day. Maureen, it's back over to you.
Thank you so much, Larry, for that information. It was spot on. I just want to say good morning to someone, Vincent Hatma. Oh my goodness, I was wondering where he went to it. And I'm so glad to have you on the call this morning. Usually I would allow some contributions from most people, but we have our King James, Diamond King James, on the line, and he wants to have a word with you this morning. So I will allow for him only to speak. So I'm going to unmute your mic. It's unmuted. King James, go ahead.
Yes, pleasant good day to you all. Vincent, I want to give a special shout out. I called Vincent the other day and said, Vincent, we're missing you like you wouldn't believe. And with immediate effect, he responded. So it's a pleasure to see you on the call, brother. Look forward to you doing some of the One Academy calls, because I know you started in the very earlies and beginning and holding sessions and reading and going through the process with us. So we really appreciate you being on the call. Larry, tremendous job, but we're going to give Larry a break. Larry, oh God, I feel sorry for Larry sometimes. I say, Lord have mercy, day after day. So we're going to orchestrate. Every day we'll have a different leader share on the One Academy, definitely. Kimmerall, myself, Vincent, and we're going to go through the learning process. But being with that said, I have a young man with us who took me to this Italian lunch today that I definitely wanted him to shine in on his thoughts on One Academy, what's going on with the world, with cryptocurrency. He heard the conversation about gold, and he has something to share about that. And morning, Marco.
Morning.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning,
yeah.
Close to 7 o'clock in Trinidad and Tobago. I know it's what time is it here?
Almost 1:30.
Yeah, it's almost 2. We're in Bulgaria, friends, to those who don't know. And this is the man from Italy. He's a superstar on the network, especially with the Deal Shaker. Marco, talk to the people, man.
I mean, as I told you from beginning, my experience in one life was I never been before a networker, so for me it's a new. Everything is new, always, every day. Learning to all the people, the leaders. Right now, I was excited when I saw the D-Shaker coming. From that moment, even if I'm not a technical guy, I was really taking care of that. I learned, I studied, and now I'm going around to show to the people how to manage, how to register, how to get the merchants inside in the system. And we've been last weekend in Madrid, and next weekend will be Italy. And we are trying to bring as many merchants as possible because usability is the key of our coin. So this is something that the people need to forget about changing, because this is ridiculous thinking to change with the possibility of increase of the value that we have with our coin, considering buying things and services. Because anyway, with dollar and euro, what are you going to do? You buy goods and services.
Correct.
This is what we are doing with this sugar.
So are you coming to the expo, sir?
Yeah, coming for sure, 100%. And I would like to join with all the people and have the chance to talk and even give my experience, what we are doing in Italy, give you histories, give you testimonials. And because really Italy now is, last year we had a difficult year. Always not possible to make any network.
And still you guys stand.
Now, yeah, but now we had the chance to start again. But last year was the only chance we had. It was to just to develop the D-Shaker. So we have a huge number of merchants inside. We have aesthetic clinics 100%. We have hotels, we have restaurants, we have any kind of selling. Last week we put together and we put in the D-Shaker. Now we get to be approved, I think today in Sofia. With the help of Veselina, we put the first supermarket.
Wow.
So supermarket is something, the key, very important. The people is waiting for that. I mean, not just dentist or maybe find the tires of your car or maybe their condition.
Buy some food.
Supermarket is...
Daniel, don't go just yet. Let me introduce you guys to a friend of mine. That's our next door neighbor. And
King, could you put the mic? Could you put the mic closer to them because we could barely hear?
Oh, okay, no problem. This is Daniel from Venezuela.
Hello, how are you? From Margarita Island, close to you. Your neighbor.
So how do you feel about the One Academy education and what's taking place with One Academy and the educational process that we have with One Life?
We are very happy. We have been in the company from 2 years, and now we are happier because we came from to the office here in Sofia, Bulgaria.
Yes.
And we receive a lot of good information, a good feeling from the company.
So you're confident with what's taking place?
More than ever.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. So Daniel is running away. And then we have two distinguished gentlemen that I'm looking to go to the office with now. He has a meeting set up. I think you guys may be familiar with these faces. I don't know. Mr. Keston, so how are you feeling in
I'm feeling
Bulgaria?
Elated. Sorry, I got here. I had the cold, but that hasn't stopped me because just being in the atmosphere with these guys and them up here, it's so amazing. We don't understand in the Caribbean what we really have, people. Because if we understand what we have, we'll be doing the same thing as Marcon did, whereby they have apartments, they have dental, they have supermarkets, they have cars, they have everything on the deal shaker. We need to push this deal shaker. We need to push this expo that we are having coming up and get the most out of it. See you all when I get back. Let's get to work.
Excellent. Mr. Ali, your points of Coke right now, 7 o'clock in the morning. You want to drink Coke? I don't understand you, man. What's going on with your life? Talk to me.
It's 2 p.m. here, but my body feels like it's 7 p.m. That's why I don't want you to see my eyes. I'm really sleepy right now. But I'm excited because we're getting over to head office in the next couple of minutes. And really exciting things are taking place right now in the company. I don't know if you're seeing the numbers that are taking place on the deal shaker. It's just exponentially growing. And there are lots more things to happen in the near future. So folks, I mean, tighten your belt and get ready for some serious action. These next couple of months is a lot of fire will be taking place. So do not hold, don't hold stream. Not now. Not now. Get going with fire.
Excellent, 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 excellent. Well, I wanna close off on one or two thoughts because I was listening to the call very attentively, and I want you guys to remember, keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing for us, especially who is involved, is to have this theory that we are learning from the One Academy and present it to be practical. So I had a conversation with Vaselina yesterday, and we were discussing other things, other options. We even discussed RM goal and the RM goal coming in effect. And she pretty much, in so many words, just told me, focus on acquiring as many coins as possible. Because now we are in the mining stage, and I've been through this conversation with you guys. So I know sometimes we hear things like the One Academy speaks a lot about goals. So even when I questioned her and I spoke about the goal concept of what the One Academy teach, she went to exactly the same conversation I had when we're going into reset. The teaching is for when we go into reset and we reset the world with the cryptocurrency, how to apply the education and certain mistakes that we would have made in the past, we don't make them anymore. Who's to say gold will be valuable in the future? No one knows. Because who's hoarding the most amount of gold? The Rothschilds and the central banks. So are we able to compete with them? Are we able to spend gold? No, technically we are not. So this digital gold that we have is what we need to make sure we keep our focus on and make sure we acquire while we could acquire as it is now. How could you acquire? Build your business. Let persons who are not educated with the One Academy, that is in the millions of people around us, go out of your way to go and share this information, because 40% of your commissions pay to you in what? Tokens that become coins. Do not misunderstand the concept of what we have to offer. Focus and build your business. And when I say focus and build your business, I actually mean talking to persons, helping people acquire level 1, level 2, level 10. I know we don't have no level 10, but that's the seriousness of what I mean. Acquire the educational packages, because now this is the focus. Anything else is not. Trying to diversify, this is not the option now. The option really and truly is to keep the main thing the main thing. We are building a successful network that will reward you, and you will live in regret when you say, I don't have enough coins. I didn't do enough. You know, I wish I could have, I should have. And now wishing could have and should have, it would be a sad day for many. I will have that feeling when it's the time. And I have a couple of coins, but I know I don't have enough. I know for sure I don't have enough. Vincent Hazmat has a couple coins. Well, what I mean, I could guarantee you that. And he will tell you he don't have enough. But you can never have enough of this digital gold. So this is the mining for gold, like the California gold rush. But instead of the physical, this is digital. The people who did that in California gold rush, where and how are their lifestyles today? That is the Bush family and many of the families like that. What is going to be your family legacy? What are you starting? What are you going to do? Friends, with everything inside of me, I suggest to you, focus and build your business. Gold, excellent. Not now. Because when you're able to buy gold or coins, if you keep in mind that you got the coins for next to nothing, because you technically get it free, especially if you're building a business, how many golds could you already acquire versus acquiring now with your currency currently? Don't misunderstand this process for what it has to offer. Focus and build your business. This is King James from Bulgaria signing out. We have a lot of Facebook Lives that we're going to do. We have a lot of things to touch. We're going to be heading to a special GG event in Bosnia. Me and my brother from another mother. And we're going to do this like we do for TV. We're going to do this, man. Keep remembering. And don't forget, we're cooking. We're cooking. Don't try to eat the food before it's finished. All right? You're going to burn your tongue and you're going to hurt yourself. Yeah, this is a cooking, baby. Cooking. Everybody cooking. That's the universal language for cooking. Love you guys. Blessed assurance, man. Keep the focus. I'll see you guys. One's out.
Thank you so much, King James. And I want to thank everyone on the call. Larry, we're going to say goodbye to you by Larry usually will play the video. Larry, are you there?
The One Academy is the heart of our company.
We're not seeing it, Larry.
Product. It's a very innovative product based on technology and based on very, very complex concepts. For us to be part of this financial revolution, to be part of cryptocurrency and of a community, we need to understand exactly what we do and what we talk about. And this is why we have the One Academy. The One Academy provides you with concepts, provides you with explanation on cryptocurrency and on the financial world. I would encourage everybody to join the courses, to do the certificates, and to understand thoroughly how to use cryptocurrency, what cryptocurrency is, and how we can change the world by using cryptocurrency. One Academy. Learn today, lead tomorrow.